Live Builders, welcome back to this week's episode of the Live Build Up Show. I'm your host, Hassan. Today, I have with me someone very special. He's the Plan Canada's top 20 under 20. He's a Startup Canada's top entrepreneur of the year. He's LinkedIn youth editor, venture capitalist, UN youth ambassador, and a TEDx speaker and a serial entrepreneur. Let me tell you, this man, when he was 7 year old, he started his first company. Now, when I was 7 years old, I was probably still drinking milk from a water bottle.
Yeah.
No- so I'm so excited, folks. I have with me Manu Goswami, aka Swish, from Toronto, Canada. Hey, brother, thank you for taking the time out to be with us. What's happening?
I'm good, man. Thanks for that kind introduction. I'm feeling really good. I'm here in LA right now,
Oh, LA,
and
actually. Okay.
yeah, it's warm, man. Super warm. The weather's great, so I'm having a great time right now.
Beautiful. The way we connected, actually, one of our regular viewer, he has suggested your name. I think he follows you, and he actually, I think, looks up to you, and so he suggested a name because every week we have different folks that we interview, and
Right.
God reached out, and that's how this happened.
Awesome.
So
I'm excited. I'm excited. By the way, like maybe
yeah,
like in like 2-3 minutes, I will have to switch these out because they are dying right now. So I just
all
want my
right,
friend headphones, but don't worry about it. Don't mind
okay.
me.
So
Yeah,
you let me know when that's happening, and we'll go from there. All right.
got it.
So I want to jump in. So what are you working on these days? What keeps you busy?
Perfect. So three things keep me busy right now. We're launching TrueFan. So we're an
Mhm.
app and a platform that helps influencers and brands find who their top fans are. Of course, we're currently working with a host of influencers like Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, Casey Neistat, Kevin Hart, TLC, T-Boz. And then from a brand side, we're working with Under Armour, Nike, Adidas. Also doing some work with the UFC and McDonald's, Twitter Canada. So we have a good spread right now. We're going to private beta in 2 days. June 15th will then be the date where everyone turns into a paying customer. So we'll see how many people actually stay on and whether the retention rate is good.
Mm.
But beyond that, I'm speaking. I'm still with the National Speakers Bureau. They're putting me everywhere across the world, just trying to share my message on personal branding, social entrepreneurship, and mental health. And last but not least, LinkedIn. So like I'm just posting on LinkedIn almost every day. I'm sharing my journey, and I get to be connected to cool people like you.
Beautiful. Now, I wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
This show is for entrepreneurs and also folks who just want to do a little more with their life, whether it be in
Yeah.
career, whatever field they're in. So one of
Yep.
the things that we like to do with our guests and everyone that comes in and they're doing amazing stuff in their own right on their own field is really
Right.
dig into the person. So I'm
Yep.
more interested in the person as behind the true
For
fan
sure.
behind the entrepreneurship. So I'm going to go right into it. So, over the years, I have met a lot of, especially young, talented folks. I was invited to speak at a Yale. There was a conference for all Ivy Leagues, and there's a lot of young folks who start off, especially when they're teenager, doing some amazing stuff. I mean, from research to building, apps to you name it. I mean, that's how they ended up in some of these Ivy Leagues. Then they sort of slow down when they hit like 20, 25. Something happens and they sort of just go back to the regular path. So does that concern you? Do you ever think about that?
I do think about it, but it doesn't really
Mm,
concern me. Here's the thing, right? I've tried the other path already. I was
mm,
destined to go to law school. I interned at a law firm before. I hated it. I know what that path kind of feels like. And I'm not saying that everyone should be an entrepreneur. Like
for sure,
find your,
yeah.
there's law school, med school, engineering, painting, traveling. I don't know, like vlogging, whatever it is, right?
Right.
But for me, I think now that I've had the taste of that world, any alternative to it, and that alternative, especially with entrepreneurship, I can't go back. I know I told my parents too, I'm like, there's no way I ever see myself working a conventional job, which is 9 to 5 at a cubicle, working on reports, having a boss. Like, I don't see it happening. And it's not like I have a problem with it. It's just
Hmm.
not for me. So
Not for
I
you,
don't,
right?
I don't think I'm ever going to go back, but it is something, of course, that I think about a lot because I know that a lot of other young entrepreneurs have that question. And that's something that I'd love for people to engage on. One sec, really quickly. Austin,
Sure.
give me the headphones. Mine just died. I just got him. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Beautiful.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, continue on.
All right. So we get right back. All right. So
All right.
um, Okay, actually, you sound even more clearer, so that's beautiful.
Excellent.
Um, okay, so now also the second thing with a lot of young entrepreneurs, one of the reason why they get sort of discouraged is that when they were 13, 14, 15, right, and they were doing
Yep.
something very novel, so they were like the unique, right? So because when you're young, you do anything that's out of the ordinary, quite unique. But
Yeah.
then now when you hit 25, now you with the big boys, so now you have
Yeah.
to perform at standard level as anybody else. Now you're judged as an adult, right? And
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
when I have seen a lot of young entrepreneurs get discouraged because they don't feel as, I guess, special as they used to feel,
Sure,
right?
I can feel that, dude. I like. It's not like I can feel that right now. Of
Right,
course, I'm still 21, but like
right.
I've thought about it. I've thought about it.
Mm,
And here's the thing, though. I don't play on my age. I don't use my age. You're never gonna see me be like I'm a 1-year-old, 20-year-old, 19-year-old. Even back in the day, I was never playing my age as a factor. I hate it. I hate it when Forbes or Influencive or HuffPost or any of these
right.
publications use my age as some selling point. Because personally speaking, yes, it's cool to be young and doing things, but I think the work itself should be what people respect, not the age
That's
behind
true.
the entrepreneur. Like I've met 21-year-old, 22-year-olds who have a much better mind for business than 40-year-olds and 45-year-olds. And
For
that's just
sure.
something that you might be born with, or you grew up in an environment that supplemented it, or you just studied the freaking hell out of businesses. You
Mm.
saw and you tried different things and you went after opportunities. So I don't know, man. Like I agree with you, but again, even at 25, even at 30, I'm going to feel special because there's no one with the same name as me, Swirocish. Pretty unique. That's my
That's
full
true.
name.
That's true.
That's my full name. And then B, I know that whatever it is I do, I'm going to feel unique because I'm going after my dream. And a lot of people are not doing that. I see so many people that they're not even making an effort. Like I understand you have to pay off student debt. I understand you have to supplement your family, you have to pay for them, whatever. But in the world and day we live in, like if you don't have a side hustle that's mildly close to what you want to do, you're just not putting yourself in the position to actually be able to live out your dream.
That's true. That's true. I mean, you can make your way, and there are plenty of avenues for it. Now, who is entrepreneurship not for?
Okay, so that's a question that I have a hard time dealing with. I think everyone can be an entrepreneur. Here's my
Hmm.
reasoning why. I think entrepreneurship is actually a mix between what you're really interested in and
Right.
business. And everyone can do it. I met a person who was into flamingos yesterday. I kid you not. She was
Hmm.
into flamingos. She did research on flamingos in New Zealand. She wore flamingo clothing and she built a flamingo app. It's called Flarmingo.
Wow.
FLAR Mingo. It's literally you take your phone and you put it in various directions and flamingos pop up in AR. You know, she took her passion, which was
Right.
studying and researching flamingos, and she incorporated an entrepreneurial model to it, which I think everyone can do. Here's the thing, though. When I was talking to her, I understood two things. Entrepreneurship will not be for the people that cannot take risks. If you
Hmm.
cannot take a risk and you aren't scared of failing, and you're a person that's like, I need to be, in a comfortable position where I know my work hours, where I know my routine every day, it's not for you. B
Hmm.
is a person that is not willing to learn. And a lot of people claim to be open minded, but they're not. A lot of people claim to be learners, but they've shut everything out and they're just operating off of what one or two people tell them or what society tells them to do, or even worse, what their heart tells them. And they keep on just listening to that without ever mixing that with their mind. So the big thing that I would say is entrepreneurship is a learning process. I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. I love it on podcasts when, I'm asked a lot of questions, but at the end of the day, I haven't figured everything out either. And I'm still in this process right now, and I'm willing to learn because I'm willing to be able to grow as a person and an entrepreneur.
That's true. I mean, the day you said, "You know what, I got it. I think I have it. I think I know it all." Then definitely,
Your
you're
competition will run right by you. Your competition will
absolutely, for
come right
sure.
after you.
You
Yeah.
know, I coach a lot of high achievers, and one of the things that
Right.
I've noticed with high achievers is that when I used to coach, say, folks who are just normal folks, quote unquote, or folks who are just
Right.
good, it's very
Yep.
easy to get them to a next level, right? When
Yep.
you work
Yep.
with high achievers, to find their area of needs improvement is a lot more fine-tuned work.
Yes.
So because they're already quite refined.
Yep.
So for you, what would you say is your current challenge? Even a small. What are you working on?
Challenges in terms of obstacles for what I'm working on.
But I would say even from a personal level, what would you say
Yeah.
something that you're dealing with?
There are a lot, man. Like one of the things off the bat is managing personal relationships with my business. Sometimes I feel like speaking, traveling, doing all of this stuff sometimes is putting me away from my family and friends, and I have a very hard time balancing, reaching out to them, staying in touch with them, knowing what's happening in their life, but also managing my schedule and doing everything on my end. That's one big thing. I think the second thing, honestly, is just time management and organization. Like, I'm starting to get better at it. I'm using my iCal and my notes,
Right.
and I'm keeping up with things. But
Right.
sometimes I find like, oh, I'm taking way too many calls in one day, or I'm doing way too many speaking engagements. I'm not focusing in on my business. Or sometimes I'm feeling like I'm at the office 8 a.m. to like 9 p.m. every single day. So I sometimes am a bit too extreme, or I'm just very relaxed and I'm lazy. And so I need to be able to find that sweet middle and consistently, repetitively put that to use. The third and final thing is I genuinely think I struggle a little bit right now with, I think more than anything, I'm a bit like, I'm trying to go too practical these days, and I'm not thinking of the big vision. Like, a lot of times, when you're selling an investor on your idea, it's not just about showing that we have the right product with the right team. It's about showing the vision, the big vision. And most entrepreneurs actually have this. It's actually sometimes all they have, honestly.
Right.
Like, a
Right.
lot of people have that big idea and they have the big
Right.
vision, but they don't know how to do it. I'm
They
the
don't have the nitty
opposite.
gritty stuff. Right.
I'm the opposite. I'm too nitty gritty at times, and I underplay what we're doing. I don't make it sound like a flowery, beautiful tale that you sometimes need to do in terms of like appealing good talent and getting people on as investors.
So dealing with the first challenge, right? So obviously, being able to manage your your personal life, say being connected with your friends, your family. Some people might say, what? Two things that come to mind. I was talking with another guest last week, and he was saying, we're talking about this article on Inc. magazine that said choose one of the three, right? Either you got to choose
Yep.
sleep, exercise, social life, or your business, whatever. You got to choose one of the three. So what do you feel? Is that how it is? Is that you have to end up sacrificing something?
No. Like, you have to sacrifice, obviously, the thing you have to sacrifice are opportunities. Like, I, for example, have to sacrifice, like, not being able to go to college. I have to sacrifice not being able to hang out with my university friends all the time. But, like, at the end of the day, I'm not sacrificing anything that I innately believe is important. Like, yes, I have a hard time managing things. That's different. But I know that there are entrepreneurs out there that have a wonderful personal life and they have a great professional life. They are very organized and they know how to be able to mix the big vision with the nitty gritty stuff. There are people like that out there.
So
And
they
so
have
if
a lot
there's
more better balance, right? Uh-huh.
100%, and they're more experienced, and that's where experience comes in, right? If you're 30-year-old,
Doing this long
35-year-old
enough.
entrepreneurship, you've done it long enough, you know about it. Maybe it's your third or fourth company, right? What I'm
Wow.
working on right now, like, I've started a number of things before, but this is the second company I've ever raised money for. So
Right.
technically, when it comes to like doing business at a high level, this is my second run at the mill. And so I think there's a lot of things I learned from my last company, but there's definitely a lot more that I can learn throughout this process as well.
No, man, I really appreciate your honesty and how much self-awareness you have. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Your so actually that brings me to the point. I was little. It's not adding up for me. You're in college at the moment,
I'm not.
right?
I'm not. So
If
I
not,
did
okay.
two
So
years. I did two
okay,
years, and I don't think I've updated my LinkedIn profile. I should
okay.
probably
So I
do
was
that.
confused, like
But
how it says University of Toronto. I was like,
yeah,
it didn't like quite match with whatever you were doing,
yeah,
and then what the
no,
major was in college. So you made a
yeah.
decision. Seems like.
I made a decision, but here's the thing: I actually might go back to college next year. I got approached by a couple of studios out in Hollywood and Bollywood to audition, and just be an entrepreneur in movies. And personally speaking, I think it's
Wow.
hilarious. I think it's something that I might want to do after True Fan, and like, do it in between my whole business life and maybe my political life
Oh
down the
man, we
road.
have the
I think
next
I
Shah Rukh Khan here. That's good.
Actually, Yash Raj Studios reached out to me. If you know anything about Bollywood, Yash Raj Studios reached out to me, and so ideally, if I did go back to school, I'd want to do something around method acting, public speaking, just learning things.
So get some
I don't think
skills,
I'm
right?
exactly. I don't think I'm going to become like the next Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, whatever. But at the same time, I think it'd be pretty cool because method acting is actually really neat. You're taking on various characters and roles when you're acting. It's very similar to entrepreneurship in the early days of the startup where you're taking on different hats. You're wearing the finance, legal, operations, like fundraising, everything. You're doing it all at once. And so I think being able to do that would just not only like allow me to go deeper and look into like what I'm good at and who I am as a person through method acting, but being able to maybe even have a career in entertainment after would be really, really fun.
I mean, it is you seem like not only do you like building businesses, but you like speaking. You like
I love
sharing.
speaking. I love
Right.
talking to myself. I love hearing my voice. I
So,
love myself.
so since obviously you like speaking, and obviously some good storytellers
Yep.
are actually good at acting, because that
Uh,
goes hand in hand.
yep.
uh,
Yeah. 100%. I do. I wanted to be an actor for a while. You asked my mom. I've been watching Bollywood movies since I was 7 years old. I don't speak Hindi very well, but I
mhm.
understand it because I've watched so many Bollywood movies that I have an inventory of words in my head.
Right.
But I kid you not, like I wanted to be an actor for a long time, and I really think that like destiny eventually aligns itself. So if you're meant to do something and you constantly put yourself in a position to win, which is putting yourself out there, networking with the right people, going after what you want and not even caring what other people think, eventually if you're destined to do something, it'll happen.
It works out, and because it just all sort of path leads in that same direction.
You're
Right.
pushing, you're not making the stars align, you're pushing the stars to align.
That's true. That's true. So you know what? Let me go back then. I do want to go back. You, moved to Canada when you were 8 years old.
Yeah.
By the way, same here. I moved to United States when I was 8.
Awesome. From where?
From Bangladesh.
Awesome. That's lovely.
Where were you born, and how was it growing up?
Singapore. I was born in Singapore, which is a beautiful small country near Malaysia. It's in Asia, of course, Southeast Asia. Singapore was awesome, but the best thing that I think it taught me was Singapore. For anyone who's been there and if you've done schooling there, it's a hyper competitive environment. Even in kindergarten, you're getting ranked, which is
Wow.
freaking ridiculous. So I studied for 1 year in primary one in Singapore. That was ridiculous. I was learning exponents in primary one, which I learned in grade 5 here in Canada. So
That's
the
true.
Asian education system really prepares you well for the Western world. But I think even beyond that, what Singapore really taught me more than anything was discipline. The entire country is founded on that. The way you act in public, the way that you act in school, the way you act in front of other people, even people it's very disciplined. And that really taught me a lot because my parents, like my mom, comes from an army background and she'd been trying to instill that in me for a while. I think I've kind of like, I kind of have hit a proper U-turn where like I became super disciplined and now I'm just like, fuck it. But like, but like at the same time, that type of foundation is always something good to have, I feel, when you're younger and growing up.
So I think for your time management, you could go back
I
to that
should go back to Singapore,
discipline.
huh? Yeah, no, I can't though, huh? I can't. The reason we left is because my brother, who's 5 years older and much smarter than I am, he was a person who didn't want to do military service. So around 2002, when I'm like, shit, I'm 5 years old, they instituted the law of military service and where you have to do 2 years when you're
It's
18. So
mandatory. I see.
I can't go back. I can visit, but I can't go back and live there until, I'm hoping I get like honorary citizenship. Maybe I'll do something for
Right.
Singapore down the road. Fingers crossed, but that'd be
Right.
pretty cool. Yeah.
I read also in your bio that as a child you dealt with a certain speech issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very interesting that you're now a speaker, completely turned over the head. Now, so how did that affect you growing up? I mean, with your peers growing up.
Yeah. So I was always a well-liked person.
Mm,
I never got bullied in my life, which I think I'm very grateful for, but I'm also not naive to know that, like, obviously there are people with impediments, even people without impediments who get bullied.
right.
So it always breaks my heart when I hear stories about that. But that being said, like, I was always well-liked. I think my personality carried through. I think I was never mean. I was never rude. I was always welcoming, inclusive to people.
Mm-hmm.
And even, like, like that type of, being kind of like the cool guy. I don't know if I was that, but I think I was like the social butterfly that was kind to everyone and everyone liked him, right? And so when I had the problem with my speech impediment, which was a lisp, I mean, sometimes it still comes through, honestly, like my saliva will build up and it'll be like, damn it, like, destruction, literally. But, back in the day, it was a lot worse. Like it got to the problem where like around when I was in grade 7 or 8, I couldn't even say my own name properly. And my name's really long, right? It's Swarochish. It starts with an S. I couldn't say S as well. I couldn't even say R as well. I said ba instead of ra. And it got to the point where like I couldn't say my own name. I did one therapy lesson. And I think just having that lesson kind of just gave me this weird, like, I hate this feeling. Like I hate being in therapy for something that I could not control. And
Right.
something that honestly, like, and this is just my opinion on it, it's not something to be ashamed about. It's not something to feel afraid of. And I challenged myself to put myself in the most uncomfortable positions possible. So my brother at the time was 4.5 years older, right? He had just won the world championship for debate in Qatar. He was part of Team Canada. He won it. And I'm like, shit, a lot of pressure in public speaking now. Like you got a brother who won that championship, damn
Right.
it.
The younger
Yeah,
brother trying to live up to your older brother.
exactly, right? No, but honestly, it was that. And a lot of people, when I joined debate, I put myself in that uncomfortable position. I signed up with a lisp. I'm like, let's do it. A lot of people initially were like, oh, you're just trying to follow your brother's shadow. 3 years goes by, grade 10 comes around, and I joined the national team. My brother is the coach of the team. He decided to come on
Wow.
as a coach.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't win Worlds ever, but I came fourth in 1 year in Thailand, and I came second in Singapore. I lost to my home country in the final. I lost to Singapore in the final in 2015 to Singapore.
Wow.
But still, like going to the final, being part of Team Canada, debating at a high level, going to Oxford and, doing really well there, and then being able to take my debate experience and go and speak on stages worldwide about what I'm passionate about, it shows that it doesn't matter how you say something. What matters is what you say. What you say to make somebody feel better, to make them more informed, or to just make them feel as if, these challenges in front of them aren't actually that big.
Right. I mean, you didn't let your list be a impediment. I mean, you're
No.
you're very eloquent, and I think
Appreciate it.
you took it and you said, that we have a saying in New York, you run up on it. That means like
Run up on it. I love that. Run up on it.
Yeah, it's like you don't stay away from it, you don't shy away from it, you just run up on it. You know what I'm saying?
Run
So
up on it.
yeah, so and that's what you did. I mean that's so you come to Canada. How was that like? I mean, moving
Awesome.
there.
Honestly, don't remember too much of it. All I really remember is the first time that my mom met a police officer in Canada. She had parked wrongly, like she had parked in an area that you can't park at. And we were picking my brother up from the bus stop. And we went back to the car and we saw the police officer and we were like, oh, we had already been there for a year. So like we had been there for already a solid year. We knew about the parking laws, but we went up to the cop and we were like, I'm so sorry. We literally just came to Canada a month ago and the cop let us go without a ticket or anything like that. So I think Canada's a cool place, man. I think Canada's inclusive. It's a beautifully respectful, even sometimes overly respectful place. But I feel like it's you feel safe. You feel very safe in Canada, and I love that. I had a lot of friends growing up in junior high. I was at the Calgary Science School. I was doing debate. I was dancing. I was building a nonprofit in high school. I decided to get involved in student politics. I was my class president. Just that period from grade 4 all the way to 12 was the biggest years of my growth. And I think I did as much as I could to make it the most uncomfortable years of my life. Running for student politics, joining debate, dancing in front of people, even though I couldn't dance initially, but then I was able to. Playing basketball, even though I'm like a pretty skinny guy, I was still able to play on the varsity team, playing volleyball on the varsity team, right? I just put myself in as many situations to fail, and in that progress, I was able to grow so much.
And that's such a key, right? It's Tim Gruber, I think in his book Relentless. I'm not sure if you read it. He talks about this, right? He said, do something that you are not comfortable with, that you feel that you're holding back on today, because if you don't do it, tomorrow is going to be 2 things, and then next day is 3 things. So every day you're like
100%. I believe that. I really believe that. And I think that's huge. And I think a lot of people underestimate how much it actually makes a difference. Like the reason why I love traveling so much is I feel like once I do work in one place for too long, I'm getting into a rut. Like I get into a routine where I'm like, God damn, I'm in the same place for the last like 2 months right now.
Right.
Like I'm doing the same work. I feel like I'm in a rut. I'm not being creative. I'm not thinking outside the box. I need to get out of here. And that's why I love traveling, because when you travel, you put yourself in a new position. I went to Cologne, Germany alone. I had no idea of anybody at the conference.
Right.
And it made me grow. I had to reinvent myself. I had to learn how to speak to a German audience. I had to learn how to walk on my own, go to a Pizza Hut on my own, order a cab on my own, find friends in the city, mingle with them. Like you're naturally going to put yourself in a new situation where you have to reinvent yourself. And with that comes reinventing your ideas and how you perceive things.
Wow, you're just just anything that's uncomfortable, you go for it, and
I do it.
challenge yourself.
And
Mm.
sometimes I do things that are a little too uncomfortable, right? Like,
Mm.
like I'm a very awkward person sometimes to be around in public, because the
Right.
thing I love doing with my friends is I love challenging them to do things. Like, I
Right.
love being like, if I'm at a club, I'm just like the type of person who's like, all right, yeah, go up to that girl and just say, how are you doing? Just have a conversation with them. And like most of my friends,
Right.
even to something as kind as that, like, you're not
Right.
doing anything wrong. You're just going
Right.
up and saying, how are you doing? They'll
Right.
have a hard time doing it. They'll feel uncomfortable with it. But I don't know, man. For me, like, it just comes easy now because I've done so many things that were uncomfortable to me. Like, I'm willing to make myself look like a
Right.
joker as long as everybody's having a good time.
And that's your MO. Like, just if it's uncomfortable, let's do it.
Yeah, like to an extent, I'm not
To that
stupid. I'm not gonna end up
extent.
I'm not gonna end up in jail or anything. Don't worry about
Right.
that. But but I
Within
but I
within the legal limits.
within the legal limits. Let's
Right.
qualify that. Exactly.
So that brings me to to my second point. I think you had mentioned doing business with friend. I think you are I think you are in partnership with your friend.
Yes, on it, Claire.
Right. And,
Yep.
and and how is that? I mean, a friend as a business
Lovely.
partner.
It's
Mm.
amazing. So I met Onik, my co-founder for TrueFan,
Right.
4 years ago. He was a top 20 under 20 as well. He had built an app that got to number 2 on the Canadian App Store. It was called Under the Radar. It beat Angry Birds on the Canadian App Store.
Wow. Okay.
And he took 25% of all the profits off the download revenue and put it towards building schools in India. So he is an
Wow.
incredible social entrepreneur. He got accepted to Stanford. He's currently studying data science and computer science there. So he's very, very talented. And the minute I thought of TrueFan as an idea, I immediately was like, you need to get on board with this. I don't care
Mm.
how much school you have. I don't care all the clubs you're a part of. He's an athlete as well. He plays
Right. Right.
basketball. I'm like, you have to do this with me. And once I pitched him the idea, he was sold on it. So the thing about us is we're friends, but we know the limit. We know where we're friends and where we're business
Mm.
partners. And that's very important to clarify off the bat. Like, it doesn't mean that we don't care for each other. Even as a business partner, I care for him. I'd lay down my life for him. But
Right.
at the same time, we're so respectful of each other's space, our ideas, and we make sure to treat each other as an equal. Wherein, like, we're not just friends now, we're partners and we're doing something together. And once you're able to find that limit, it's the funnest thing in the world. Funnest, that's a terrible word to use. Sorry. It's very fun. It's
Very fun.
very fun. It's very fun because you're working basically and you're going to work every day with your friends.
That's true, but sometimes there are some challenges, right?
Yes, of course.
Working, whether it be family member or a friend as your business
Yeah,
partner.
100%,
Uh,
100%. I haven't had that. I haven't had
you
that
haven't
yet.
had
I haven't
any?
had that yet.
Okay. Hmm.
But here's my tip. I can imagine that happening. I can imagine us. Maybe there's an important decision, and both of us differ on where we want to go. At the same time, it takes mature people. It takes mature people to understand that at the end of the day, if you have a disagreement in business, unless it's like fraudulent and like people stealing money and stuff, which we're not those types of people, so that's never
Right.
going to happen, and I know it's never going to happen. But the thing which my co-founder and I might ever have a problem with is I have one idea for where we should go and he has another idea. At the end of the day, you have to realize that you both are invested and care about the company as much as each other.
And you know
You're
was very
coming.
interesting. Was very
Yeah,
interesting. I just had
yeah,
the conversation with someone.
yep,
They were business partners. Both their friends, and this problem, which was
yeah,
that they have different ideas
yeah.
about something.
For sure, and you have
What
to
do they do?
understand. You have to understand. You both are invested. You both care about the company, and you both are coming from an honest approach. You're
That's true.
coming from a good place. You're not trying to sneak and snake
Right.
the other person away from the company. You're just trying to take it into direction that you think is better. And so,
Right.
honestly, at the end of the day,
His bottom line
compromise.
is your bottom line. So
Exactly,
right.
exactly. And so you're in it together. That's the mentality you should have. And then don't let professional disagreements carry over to personal. Like, I'm very chill. Like as long as people don't make things personal, we're not
Right.
personal. Like if I was having a disagreement professionally and someone brought up a family member or someone brought up like something I did personally, then it becomes personal. And that's what you shouldn't do. But if you just have a disagreement on the table over a professional situation, I mean, think about it, guys. We've had that all the time with classmates and group projects all the time. My God, group projects. Like, I'll do this work, you'll do that. They don't do their work. And you have to have
Sounding
a
a
disagreement
disaster.
with them, right? Exactly. And
Right.
you've had disagreements with your teachers and you've had disagreements with your parents and you still get over that shit. So as long as you're mature, you're coming from a good place, you're willing to compromise, and more importantly, as much as possible, you're separating what's professional and you're not bringing anything that's personal into the equation, you're good.
A lot of people watching when they watch entrepreneurs talk, or they watch people who are trying to do a lot with their life. Something that comes back to their mind for a lot of people is like, why do more, right? I just want to be
Mm-hmm.
normal. Like, why
Yep.
stay hungry? And why?
I can't answer that. It's just how I'm
Mm,
programmed. It's how I'm wired. Everybody's not wired the same way. I'm wired in the state of, even now when I get on podcasts, when I'm speaking at places like the Wall Street Journal, I don't feel anything. I feel good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like, all right, I'm done. Like there's so much to do. And that's what I think I think more than anything, I'm a lover of life. I actually got this
mm.
compliment today where someone came up to me, and I don't talk about compliments I get. This is like a very rare occurrence, but someone came up to me and it's like, Swish, more than anything, I love how energetic you are, but I love that every part of your life you just love it. Like you treat it as if it's the most beautiful moment, every moment of your life.
That's true.
And
I
I'm
feel
like,
it already. As I'm talking with you,
no,
I feel this
yeah,
good energy. I love it.
yeah, and I'm like, but that's beautiful because at the end of the day, there's so much you can do in life. Like if when you think about it, like I could live out 4 or 5 more careers now. Like I'm
Mm,
21. Somebody who's 40 who has already lived out maybe 1 or 2 careers can start over again and build themselves up
for
and
sure.
be
Yeah.
able to be that 55-year-old, 60-year-old speaker, entrepreneur, trainer, whatever it is, right?
Right.
So I'm excited more than anything. Like, and that's why for me, the biggest priority I'm going to be making coming up is health more than anything, because I want to
Ah,
stay healthy.
right.
I want to stay healthy to the
That's a
point where
vehicle of life. That's true.
exactly 45,
Mm,
55, I want to make sure I'm looking good, but I also want to make sure I'm alive. Like, I want to make sure I'm not, like, oh, my legs are hurting. I can't go outside. I want to
right.
make sure I can still hustle, grind, travel, move around, talk to people, be energetic all the time. And that comes with having a good diet and putting yourself around the right people.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I want to shift gear a little bit.
Yep.
So I know you are involved with the JB Fitzgerald
Yes.
Capital Group, right? And
Yep.
I'm sure you get a lot of pitches for folks
A
who have
lot, bro.
ideas and so forth.
A lot.
I'm sure people reach out to you personally on because you have open access on your social media. I think people reach out to you. So
Yep.
what do you see some common, like, mistakes that people make when they're pitching you the idea, or or what they're bringing up to the table?
Okay, so there's two things, and this actually is a big problem with American entrepreneurs in particular.
Oh,
American
interesting.
entrepreneurs, American entrepreneurs tend to exaggerate their ideas dramatically. Canadian entrepreneurs, in my opinion, underwhelm. They go under. They don't exaggerate. They go
Wow, that's
under.
interesting.
They don't sell their idea well. This is just my experience from all the pitches that I've heard. So A is exaggerating. Like if you're lying about
Right.
your clients, if you're lying about your traction, if you're lying about your idea, and more importantly, this is the biggest one. If you're lying about your competitors, we'll find
Mm,
out. I'll do
right.
my due diligence, and if I find out and you're not telling me, it looks terrible on you. The second thing, and here's actually my philosophy when it comes to raising money. I've only raised a very small amount. We're probably going to raise a bigger amount a month, but from
Right.
the people that I've talked to and from the things they've told me, the biggest thing that I've learned about raising is it's a partnership. At the end of the day, you're not really selling your idea, you're selling a partnership. You're
Ah,
telling the venture capital, the investor, not why they should believe and fund your idea, but you're telling them why they should come on board and why
right.
they're the
Right.
perfect
Mm,
fit. So
right.
a lot of people don't do that. A lot of companies, when they pitch us and they know that Trevor Booker, the NBA player, is the one behind the fund, they
Right.
know that he has money. They're just going after the money. They're not going after the strategy. They're not after bringing what Trevor brings to the table, which is basketball connections, entertainment connections, a great team, a good personal brand. They're not talking about that. They're just talking about his money.
Mm. And sometimes these entrepreneurs might be pitching at the wrong place, because
Yep.
he might not be the right partner you want to have,
But
even if
maybe you have another person. Yep.
right.
Yep.
Because it's not, sometimes, especially young entrepreneurs, they look at just the money. Okay, I think I'll get a cash from this person. And
For sure.
I have people that that I work with, and I say, but he just, okay, he has like five 7-Elevens. Like, that's not the
Yeah.
person you want to get money from. Like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you have is a whole technology thing. That's not your
Yeah.
guy.
It's
They're like,
not your
no, but
guy.
you give me the cash. You just want
And you know what?
15%.
And then because we live in a world where everybody believes to build a business, to grow it, you need money. And you need
Mm,
to raise. You need to raise money. Nobody bootstraps anymore. Like what we're doing, we raised a really small amount just for development of our platform, but we're going
right.
to bootstrap until we need a raise. And the only reason I'm raising is because we want to expand internationally. We want to incorporate WeChat, Twitch, Reddit, the other APIs into our
Hmm.
platform.
Hmm.
But more importantly, we want to hire a full-time sales team. I already know why I want the money, and I know that I need to be able to raise that money because I'm not able to bootstrap it quick enough. I know that in a year we're going to be able to
raising
pay
money for
everything
a
on
very
our own.
specific purpose. You have a clear,
very specific
you're not
clear
blowing
reason.
money because
No,
I know somebody who got a salary basically.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And I'm not that type of person. Like, even right now, I'm not taking a salary out of TrueFan. When we raise money, I might take $3K per month. I might take $4K a month. I don't know, but I'm not paying myself $150,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying a house. I'm not buying fucking cars or anything. I'm spending time building this process out, hopefully being able to increase the value amount of each percentage. So when we go and get acquired, or if we sell, or whatever happens, we're getting our bang for our buck, and we're getting compensated for all the work we did in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever time it takes.
That's true. So show me this. So how does a just I want to get a picture. How does it go from idea, right? TrueFan, it was an idea at one point, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, where you are now, like
product.
Give me the under the hood. How does it go from an idea to where you are now?
I love that question, man. Great question. Idea starts off with this. You think of an idea, you're like, damn, I got an idea. You write it down. Already, most people don't do that. People literally have ideas all the time, but they don't write it down. They forget it. They don't talk to people about it, whatever, right? You think of the idea, you write it down. You write it down on a piece of paper. I really recommend a piece of paper. I don't recommend a laptop. I don't recommend a phone. I recommend a piece of paper. You make a mind map. You write every idea associated to that. You write out the business model. You write down everything you want to know about the business. Market, do your research for just a week. Don't overplan. The biggest problem I see with entrepreneurs is they overplan. They jinx themselves out of an idea, or they spend way too much planning and somebody else takes their idea. And in the world where we have an Amazon, we have Ubers of the world, you got to move quick if you have a good idea because the market opportunity might not exist in 2-3 months.
That's true.
Here's the thing. After you write the idea down, this is the most important part that people miss. Feedback. More than planning the idea, talk to everybody about it. Now, a lot of people are a bit scared about telling their ideas to people because they're scared of them stealing it, right?
Classic.
I literally do not care about that. My intuition tells me this. Even if somebody right now takes TrueFan, I'm going to beat them because I'm quicker, I have a better team, I have smarter people, and I have a much better idea, and more importantly, a much better product roadmap. I know what the next 4 or 5 steps are going to be for TrueFan. They might not have the same plan as me, or they might not even be equipped. I move quick, which is big because that's speed, and it shows that I'm going to get to market faster. I'm going to have that first mover advantage. So I don't mind telling people my idea. So when I tell them my idea, I'm writing everything down. I'm getting feedback. I'm shooting it over email. I'm having dinners, meetings, whatever. And I'm just talking about my idea for 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks, spend getting feedback. And then what you should do with that feedback is incorporate it immediately into making an MVP, a minimum viable product, a prototype, right? If you're building an app, go on envision.com. Right? Envision, INVISION. You can build a simple prototype of your app. Even I, a social sciences humanities student, was able to do it. You need no programming background. If you're making a service, go into your community, go to 5 random strangers, knock on doors, do whatever you need to tell the idea and ask them whether they would want to join that service and come on as an early customer. Get that customer feedback, and then that's where you make your big decision. Do I go along with the idea, or do I scrap it and move on? And a lot of people need to be super honest at that stage. If you're getting negative feedback, don't go for it. Think about the idea more. Maybe you need another piece that you haven't thought of yet and just put it in the back burner and move on. But if you're dead set on the idea, you better get ready because the whole part that comes after is development. You got to get your team around you. If you need to raise some initial capital, talk to a lot of people, set up the angel investor meetings. Don't go to a VC. You're way too early to do that.
That's true.
And past anything, as much as possible, focus on building the good product. Whatever you promised, build that. Spend as many months as you need to. Don't care about the fucking logo or the website or the company name. Build the product first and then build the company around it. Incorporate your company and then launch.
And even what you said, which is that even before you build all this, you went to few customers and said, "Would you sign up for it? Would you pay for this?"
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's true.
It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing.
That's true. And when I was several years ago, when I was working on my first business, it never worked out, and I was consulting with someone. He was one of Forbes 30 under 30, and I was consulting with him, and he told me, he said, okay, I gave him the whole idea. I was telling him all my, American entrepreneurs, right, all different ideas and so forth. He said, how many customers do you have? I said, none. He said, you're worried about this website design and logo. Yeah. Give me 5 people who would buy your idea.
Want to buy your customer.
Then come talk to me.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
smart.
because
Smart.
maybe the whole product will change completely.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And
once you start getting the feedback.
and it doesn't mean you don't have to care that much about the website and all that, but there's a
For
time for
sure, yeah,
everything. There's a
for
time for
sure.
everything, and the time for thinking about a website or a logo is not in the first 3 or 4 months. It really
Right.
isn't. It
That's
really isn't.
exactly what it is. Yeah.
We changed our name. We were initially Superfan. We were Superfan for a couple of months. I did not
Right.
look at that name again until about a month ago when I was like, all right, cool. Now let's take a look at the name. Are we going to go with Superfan? That was our tentative project name, right?
Ah.
And we realized we couldn't use Superfan because it was already trademarked. But
Right.
I wasn't
Right.
nervous. I didn't worry because we just changed the name to TrueFan. We can
Right.
trademark this name now. But more importantly, at the end of the day, people aren't buying the name. They're buying the product.
That's
They're
true.
buying
And
whatever will
who
help them do
in,
whatever.
in initial stages, people get so invested in that name, no one even knows
Yep.
you, right? So
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
change that
Why are
name
you
and no one
so
even
why do
will
you care,
remember.
bro? Why do you care so much? Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Exactly. Yeah.
As our time trickling away, I know, we have only a few more minutes.
Yeah.
I want to ask. Usually, we like to show one picture from the Instagram, and we ask about it. But
All
I
right.
have something already. I'm not sure
Oh
if
shit.
Jarrett can pull it up. But if
This
not,
would be
then
scary.
if
That's
not, then
scary.
if not, let me ask you something else along the same thought. I know, you met with Gary Vee. You had this a meeting with him. Now I'm just curious, what did you write?
Yeah, what did I write in my email? I sent him an email in May
Uh-huh.
every single day, and I wrote an email where I talked about whatever video he posted, what my
Right,
review of it was, and why I
right,
wanted to meet him. So he was putting out like daily V's initially,
right.
like this was like the start of daily V about two
Uh-huh.
years ago, and
Right,
I just started commenting back. I'm like, hey, love this part of the episode where you talked about X, Y, and Z. By the way, I'm a 20-year-old, or I'm an 18. I was actually 18, I think, at the
right.
time. I'm an
Uh-huh.
18-year-old entrepreneur. I'm building this. I would just love to come in and talk to you for 10 to 15 minutes. I sent that every single day to his email, and I think eventually he got fed up with me, and he literally was like, Alex, who was his assistant at the time, schedule a meeting with the kid. He'll come and meet us. And I came in, I met him. And literally, Gary, at the start of the video, was like, he wouldn't have an agenda. He was just like, whatever you want to talk about, you got
Right,
15
right,
minutes, let's do it. And it was 15 minutes on the dot. I thought he might have moved the meeting. I thought it might have been 5 or it might have been 30 minutes or
right,
something.
right.
15 minutes on the dot. And I loved it.
Right. So you're very persistent,
Very persistent.
right.
And here's the thing. After the meeting, what I did is I wrote an article summarizing everything he told me. I published it on Medium. I tweeted it at him. He started following me on Twitter. And we've stayed in touch. I see him everywhere now. Sometimes we're speaking at the same conference even, which is incredibly humbling. But
Right.
more importantly, a lot of his team members are good friends of mine. So David Rock, Tyler Schmidt, Andy Kranak, Elliot Robinson. I'm an advisor on his company. He's my roommate in New York. Colin Campbell, who was his personal writer, now leaving for San Francisco, literally another of my roommates. So Gary Vee's in our life. Even though I don't
Mhm.
see him every single day or every week or every month,
Right.
like the fact of the matter is his philosophy, his teachings have just changed how I'm networking with people, and the
Right.
people that are around me are absorbing his content and actually acting on it every single day.
Right. Now I'm sure he's been influential in a lot of folks in
A
their
lot
lives.
of
And
people, a lot of
right,
people's life.
absolutely. So as we're sort of wrapping up, run me through your typical day nowadays.
There's no typical day, man. And I
That's
know it's
good.
cliche. I know it's a cliche answer, but there's no typical
Right.
day really. I'm not a morning person. So I tend to
Okay.
sleep at about 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I kid you not. Especially
Uh-huh.
this week since we have a product launch coming up for
Right.
TrueFan. I've been sleeping very late, but I wake up around 10:30, 11. Today I
Mhm.
woke up at 7:30 because I had to go to speak at a LinkedIn event. But I mean, if I'm not speaking, I'll wake up at 10:30, 11. I'll normally just spend the first hour making breakfast and on my phone, checking social media, checking email. I love to do all my internal calls, like everything that I need to get on the phone for, whether it's with my team or it's with other people. I do that all in the morning.
Huh.
Normally, I like being on the West Coast because it means that everybody else on the East Coast is 3 hours ahead. But if I am on the East Coast, then I make sure that, it's about 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12 o'clock. People are just waking up and we're doing a morning call. The afternoon is spent for outside. I get out. I love working at coffee shops. We have a co-working space now in the financial district in New York, so I love working there. And I also just love having all my external meetings in the afternoon. Normally around 4 or 5 o'clock, I'll do something recreational. It could be a sport, like I love playing squash or basketball, or it could be biking, or it could be meeting up with a friend. And then normally at night, either if it's a weekday, I'll come back home, I'll play video games with my friends, and, I'll have a good night, or I might be working late. That sometimes happens. Or if it's a weekend, I'll go out. I'll go out with my friends. I'll have a dinner meeting maybe around 8, 9 o'clock. But then after that, I'm going clubbing. I'm going to go party with my friends. And that's like the typical day, if you will,
That's
for
what's
what I
up.
do. But it really does vary, man, because I travel so much. So,
You do, but
sometimes that
where are you
changes.
based off of now? I mean, usually, I mean, you're traveling a lot, but where
So
you tend to be more,
I'm in LA right now,
right?
but I'm based in New York. That's where I live. And then I spend a lot of time in Toronto. At least once or twice a month, I'm in Toronto because my brother's there. And so I love Toronto as a city. Sorry, my phone is just at
And your
2%. So I'm just going to
all right,
plug this in. But yeah.
and your family is also in Toronto as well.
No, so
No, you're not. Mhm.
my brother is. How do I
Mhm.
open this? Jesus, this is like a very hard thing to open. All right. Anyways, no, my brother's in Toronto. My mom's in Calgary, and my dad's in Singapore. So we all live separately now. My mom and my dad are divorced, and
Mhm.
I mainly am more close to my mom. But my brother and I are very, very close. My mom and I pretty much FaceTime every single day or every 2 days. So I'm in like constant contact with her, and she's now on LinkedIn too. So she's very annoying on LinkedIn. She comments on every post I make, and she like takes
She's
much of
proud
my
of you.
audience away from me. She loves that. Yeah.
That's what happens, a lot of time, when you're starting off, so for a lot of your family, and they're your early fans,
No, they're your
and
early fans, and you
and
know that
sometimes they
you go
embarrass you.
100%. But at the end of the day, like your family is gonna stay with you no matter
Oh,
what.
for
And
sure, for sure.
you go back home.
That's right.
Maybe you can't count on some friends coming with you, but your family will always be with you.
That's right. So what do you as we wrap up? What do you I'm sure learning about this is not managing your time, or how to be in this game. I'm sure it just doesn't come from thin air, right? So what are you
Yep.
consuming? What are you consuming? So on a daily basis.
I don't consume a lot of content, honestly. Like I don't
Mm,
read books very much. I don't
okay.
watch videos. I watch YouTube videos, but that's just mainly like gaming and Bollywood movie trailers and Bollywood movie interviews and stuff.
Right.
But honestly, the way I consume stuff now is just talking to a bunch of people. Like I love going to conferences. I love speaking at them. I love
Mm,
hearing what people have to say. I just talk to a bunch of people, as many people as I can talk to, and I consume content through that. I learned everything about blockchain and crypto through the people around me who were experts in it. And I talk to them. I
okay.
nag them. Dude, there are times where I text them at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I ask them a question about it. I'm like, what do you think about this particular coin? Or what do you think about this ICO coming about? Or what platform should I use? Or what wallet should I
Mm,
buy, right? I pepper them with questions. So if you know something and you're in my inner circle, get ready to get annoyed because I
right.
ask a lot of questions.
Wow. That's definitely a key. Utilizing and being able to talk and get people who are expert in what they're doing, for
Yeah.
sure. No point of reinventing the wheel.
No, man.
Um, so what's next for you? What's what?
What's next? I'm in LA, and then I'm going to Toronto for the LinkedIn meetup on the 17th. Of course, the product
Mhm.
launch is coming up in 2 days for
Right.
TrueFan.
Yes.
So I'll be back in New York later this month. We're just going to be heads down for the summer. Our goal is 50K
Mhm.
MRR, so monthly recurring revenue. We're
Mhm.
hoping to get as many brands as possible on the tool. So if you know anybody, or if anyone watching this knows anyone that could like the tool, please hit me up.
For
But
sure.
yeah, man, that's the plan, dude. That's the immediate future. The long-term future is, let's set everything up. The Yash Raj thing. Do I want to do more speaking? Do I want to do a book? I got approached by a publisher recently, which could be kind of cool to look into. I mean, there's so much opportunity, and all I really got to do now is plan it all out, but make
I
sure I don't
see.
do too much as well. I
Mm,
want to focus on the projects ahead of me, and I'm very excited to just get going on TrueFan and see how big we can make it.
absolutely, man. Wish you best of luck, and as prioritize your opportunities and get clarity on it, we wish you best of luck as well. Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate. I hope we can. There's a lot more I wanted to ask, but we're out of time, and I know you got the 1% on your phone, so
Yeah.
we'll catch up again. All right.
Tell you what, yeah, you know what? We should do something maybe next week or next week. Whenever you guys have a schedule clearing, let me know, man, because I love this. You guys are asking amazing questions. I don't normally get asked questions about that. I normally get questions like, "Oh, you're 21. How does it feel to be 21 or whatever?"
21.
Right?
We'll pass that.
But honestly, yeah, but
Right.
honestly, guys,
Because
like
there's a lot
great.
more. There's a lot more. I think folks are watching this, and most folks watch it in replay afterwards. Also in
Yeah,
the podcast, we do the live because I think it's a different experience, right?
for
This is more
sure,
podcast, but we do this live
for
first
sure.
just for the different experience here.
Yeah.
But,
So keep
but
doing what
folks,
you guys are
yeah,
doing. Keep
but
doing what
folks,
you guys are doing.
uh,
Yeah.
you know, I appreciate it. So, we're definitely gonna catch up again. And when you're in New York, we're in New York, so we can definitely touch base as well, for sure.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Alrighty.
Thank you so
John,
much.
we have anything else, or we're close? Okay. Alrighty. So because we're out of time, so we're not going to take any the questions, things like that. But hey, man, it's been great.
It's been great, dude. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Alrighty. All right, folks. That was Manu Goswami, aka Swish. He is Canada's top 20 under 20 Plan Canada's and Startup Canada's top entrepreneur of the year. LinkedIn youth editor, venture capitalist, UN youth ambassador, TEDx speaker, and a serial entrepreneur. He right now working on a launch of his second company. And if you benefited anything from this and took some really good strategies and plan home, give us a thumbs up. And if you have any question, comments, he's someone who's very active on social media and he responds readily. So we'll put his a link below as well. So with that, we will see you next week on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And enjoy the rest of the night. Good night from New York. Again, this is your host.